Ladies and gentlemen, comfort is the silent killer of potential because it disguises itself as peace while quietly eroding the very strength that you need to rise. When you live in comfort for too long, your mind begins to settle. And when the mind settles, it forgets how to strive, how to reach, how to stretch towards something higher. Human beings are designed to grow. Growth is the natural law of life. Just as a tree is never satisfied with being a sapling and continues to stretch toward the sky, you too are built to expand. But the moment you choose comfort, you are telling your mind and body, I no longer wish to grow. Comfort whispers that you have done enough, that it's okay to relax, that you deserve to stay where you are. But that voice is nothing more than the enemy of greatness, dressed in soothing tones. Comfort gives you an illusion of security, yet it is the most dangerous form of insecurity because it keeps you trapped. When you accept comfort, you accept mediocrity. Think of every individual who ever reached the top of their game: athletes, entrepreneurs, visionaries, leaders. None of them lived in comfort zones. They understood that every day spent in ease is a day stolen from their future. Comfort lures you into stillness, and stillness becomes stagnation. Stagnation slowly transforms into decay, and before long, a person who once had dreams finds themselves with nothing but excuses. It does not happen overnight. It happens gradually, silently, like water dripping onto stone. The body, too, is shaped by comfort. When you stop challenging it, it weakens. Muscles shrink, endurance fades. Energy declines. The mind is no different. A mind that is not pushed, tested, and challenged begins to lose sharpness. Ideas grow dull, creativity dries up, and discipline disappears. This is why comfort is more dangerous than outright failure. Failure wakes you up. Comfort lulls you into sleep. Failure shakes you and forces you to act. Comfort makes you believe you don't need to act at all. It is not the storms that destroy most lives. It is the calm waters where nothing happens. Comfort also disguises itself as reward. You work hard for a moment, and then you convince yourself you deserve to relax forever. You buy into the idea that you should seek the soft life, the easy road, the absence of struggle. But here is the truth: the struggle is the very thing that defines you. The mountain exists to be climbed, not avoided. The weight exists to be lifted, not ignored. The obstacle exists to reveal your strength, not to block your path. When you reject these challenges in favor of comfort, you are rejecting your own greatness. You are rejecting the life you were built to live. Every great achievement in history was born from discomfort. The person who trains when they feel tired, the person who builds when everyone else rests, the person who studies when the world is distracted. These are the people who rise. Comfort tells you to take it easy, but your destiny demands you take it seriously. If you truly want to live a life that matters, you must learn to look comfort in the eye and walk away from it. It does not mean you cannot rest. Rest is necessary, but rest is earned. Comfort, when taken without effort, becomes poison. It softens your willpower and dulls your instincts until you no longer recognize the fighter within you. Think of the lion in the wild versus the lion in the cage. The lion in the wild hunts, sharpens its claws, tests its strength daily. The lion in the cage is fed, safe, comfortable. Which one would you rather be? The caged lion may live longer, but it lives smaller. It never feels the rush of the hunt, the satisfaction of victory, the thrill of survival. Many people today are like the caged lion, fed, safe, comfortable, but stripped of their true nature. That is what comfort does. It takes your roar away. It steals your edge. It makes you soft. If you examine your own life closely, you will see the truth of this. The moments that made you strong were never the comfortable ones. They were the nights you stayed up working while others slept. The times you pushed yourself in pain. The times you faced rejection, loss, or struggle and refused to quit. Those moments carved you into who you are. Comfort, on the other hand, never carved anything. It only dulls, blunts, and weakens. It convinces you that tomorrow will always come, that opportunities will always wait, that you can always start later. But later never arrives. The person who listens to comfort wakes up one day filled with regret, realizing that they traded their potential for temporary ease. You must understand that comfort is not neutral. It is not harmless. It is the enemy in disguise. It erodes your urgency, numbs your ambition, and delays your purpose. Every time you choose comfort, you are making a choice against growth. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you are handing your power to comfort. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, skip the hard workout, neglect the hard work, you are giving comfort permission to dictate your destiny. And destiny cannot be fulfilled by the comfortable. Destiny belongs to the hungry, the relentless, the disciplined. Comfort is a sedative, and once you swallow it, you drift into the sleep of wasted potential. Growth lies beyond discomfort because everything valuable in life demands a price, and that price is rarely ease. The human spirit was not designed to remain in the same place, repeating the same routines, feeling the same emotions, and expecting transformation to arrive like a gift. Growth is the natural order of life, and discomfort is the furnace in which it is forged. The moment you step into a challenge that unsettles you, You awaken forces within yourself that you did not even know existed. Discomfort is not punishment. It is the evidence that you are moving forward, stretching past limitations, and testing the strength of your will. Nothing extraordinary is ever born inside the safety of comfort zones, because comfort zones are prisons made of soft walls. They may feel safe, but they keep you locked in a cycle of sameness where nothing new can emerge. Think about the way the body grows stronger. If you lift no weight, your muscles atrophy. But when you pick up resistance that feels heavy, when you stretch your body beyond what is easy, the fibers break down and rebuild stronger. That process is painful, yet it is the very essence of growth. The same principle applies to your mind, your spirit, your finances, your relationships, your career. Whatever area of life you wish to expand will only expand when it is subjected to pressure, to stretching, to being taken beyond its previous capacity. Growth is always the result of moving into the unknown, and the unknown is never comfortable. Discomfort challenges the identity you have built around yourself. It shakes the version of you that believes, this is who I am, this is all I can do. But that version of you is outdated. Every time you face discomfort, you are destroying the old self and giving birth to a new one. You may feel fear, doubt, and resistance, but those are simply signs that transformation is at work. Discomfort is the threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. Most people turn back at that threshold because the feelings are unfamiliar and they mistake unfamiliarity for danger. But the truth is, unfamiliarity is the doorway to expansion. You cannot discover new strength while clinging to old safety. Look at the patterns of life itself. The seed must break open in the dark soil before it can push toward the light. The chick must crack its shell before it can fly. The caterpillar must endure the cocoon before it becomes the butterfly. In every case, there is struggle, there is discomfort, there is a breaking process. Without it, there is no transformation. Human beings are no different. You must break through the shell of your own comfort, endure the pressure of uncertainty, and push into the unfamiliar if you want to rise. The very things that make you uncomfortable are the tools that carve your greatness. Most people resist discomfort because they confuse it with suffering, but there is a difference. Suffering is remaining stuck in a life you don't want, in a job that kills your spirit, and habits that rob your future. Discomfort, on the other hand, is the short-term challenge that liberates you from that suffering. Discomfort is the path to freedom, because it teaches you that you are capable of more than you thought. Every time you endure discomfort and refuse to run, you expand your capacity. What once felt impossible begins to feel possible. What once terrified you becomes natural. The phone call you were afraid to make, the gym session that felt unbearable, the speech that made you shake. Once you walk through that discomfort, you no longer fear it, you rise above it. This is why discomfort is the birthplace of confidence. Confidence is not built by telling yourself affirmations in the mirror while hiding from life. It is built by facing discomfort repeatedly until you realize that nothing can truly break you. Confidence comes when you do the thing you thought you couldn't do and discover that you survived, that you even thrived. Discomfort builds resilience, and resilience becomes unshakable power. You learn that fear does not control you, that rejection does not define you, that failure does not end you. You learn that every time you lean into discomfort, you are rewiring your mind to expect growth instead of retreat. Discomfort also destroys the illusion of limitations. Many people live believing that they have ceilings above them, limits to their potential, barriers they cannot cross. But those ceilings are illusions built by comfort. When you step into discomfort, you realize that the limits were never real. They were only walls you had accepted. Growth happens the moment you stop believing in those walls and start pushing against them. The harder you push, the more you realize they collapse, and with each collapse, your sense of possibility expands. This is why the people who achieve greatness are the ones who voluntarily choose discomfort again and again. They run toward challenges instead of away from them. They understand that while the crowd looks for comfort, they must look for friction. They know that the uncomfortable road is the road less traveled, and it is less traveled because it demands more. But they also know that the reward at the end of that road is greater than anything comfort could ever provide. Growth is not a gift for the lucky. It is the reward for those who willingly step into discomfort and refuse to stop. Negative feelings are signals, not chains, because emotions are not meant to imprison you. They are meant to inform you. Every emotion that rises inside of you carries a message, a call to awareness, a reminder that there is something in your life that demands attention. Fear, doubt, anxiety, anger, insecurity. These feelings are not curses. They are indicators. They point to where you must grow, where you must heal, where you must act. But most people misunderstand them. They believe that negative feelings are permanent states, heavy weights that must be carried forever. And so they surrender to them. In reality, emotions are energy in motion. They are waves passing through your mind and body. If you interpret them correctly, they can guide you toward transformation. If you misinterpret them, they will trap you in a cycle of paralysis and self-destruction. Fear, for example, is often viewed as a barrier. People say, "I'm afraid, so I can't do it." But fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal. It is your inner compass telling you that you are standing at the edge of growth. Fear appears only when you are about to step into something larger than your current self. That speech you are afraid to give, that business you are afraid to start, that risk you are afraid to take, those are not signs to retreat. They are signals that you are standing at the threshold of expansion. Fear is the body's way of saying, "Pay attention. Something powerful is happening here." If you mistake that signal for a chain, you will never step forward. But if you see it for what it is, you will use it as fuel to move beyond your old limits. Doubt functions in the same way. Doubt does not mean you are incapable. It means you are aware that you are stepping into new territory. It is the mind's natural response to unfamiliar ground. Doubt is simply the echo of your old self questioning whether you can handle the demands of your new self. It is not proof that you should stop. It is proof that you are stretching. If you wait for doubt to disappear before you act, you will wait forever. The only way doubt dissolves is through action. Once you do the thing, once you step into the unknown, doubt loses its grip because experience replaces speculation. What once seemed impossible becomes familiar, and what was once intimidating becomes natural. Doubt is only a signal that more is required of you, not a chain that keeps you bound. Anxiety, too, is often misunderstood. Anxiety is the body's way of saying that your mind is running ahead of your actions. It is the gap between what you are doing and what you know you could be doing. It is a signal that you are misaligned. When you procrastinate, when you avoid, when you allow fear to dictate your choices, anxiety builds because your spirit knows you are capable of more. That tightness in your chest, that restlessness in your stomach, it is your inner self saying, "Move, act, step forward." Anxiety becomes unbearable only when you ignore its message. But when you align your actions with your highest intention, when you face what you've been avoiding, the anxiety begins to dissolve. It was never a chain. It was a signal to rise. Even anger and frustration carry hidden guidance. They reveal boundaries being crossed, values being ignored, or untapped energy being wasted. Anger often shows up when you know deep down that you are settling for less than you deserve, or when you feel powerless to change something that matters. That emotion is not there to consume you. It is there to awaken you. It is raw energy that, when directed with discipline, can fuel breakthroughs. Some of the greatest transformations in history were born from frustration with the status quo. Anger turned into determination, frustration turned into innovation. But when people mistake anger for a chain, they let it eat them from the inside. They lash out, they implode, they sabotage themselves. Yet anger, properly understood, is a signal that you must take control, set boundaries, and direct your life with clarity. The truth is that every negative feeling is an invitation to evolve. They are messengers carrying awareness about where you must act differently. But society has trained people to numb them, to run from them, to drown them with distractions. People drink, scroll endlessly, overeat, or seek constant entertainment to avoid listening to these signals. But avoidance does not silence the message. It only makes it louder. The feelings grow heavier not because they are chains, but because ignoring them keeps the lesson unlearned. The moment you decide to face the emotion and ask, "What is this teaching me? What is this trying to show me?" you break its false power over you. Your emotions are not meant to rule you, but they are meant to guide you. They are like warning lights on the dashboard of a car. If the light comes on, you don't smash the dashboard in frustration or abandon the car. You check what's happening under the hood. In the same way, when negative feelings arise, you don't destroy yourself with guilt or hide in avoidance. You investigate, you seek understanding. You look at the area of your life that needs attention. Once you do that, the emotion has served its purpose and passes. It is only when you believe that emotions are chains that you stay stuck in them for years, circling the same patterns, never realizing that you were meant to learn from them and move forward. Shift from reaction to creation, because the majority of people spend their entire lives simply responding to what happens around them instead of consciously deciding what happens within them. They allow circumstances, opinions, setbacks, and fleeting emotions to dictate their state of mind. They react to insults with anger, to failure with despair, to uncertainty with fear. In this way, their lives become nothing more than a series of reflexes, a predictable chain of cause and effect where the outside world pulls the strings and they dance like puppets. To live in reaction is to surrender control. It is to hand over your power to anything and anyone that happens to cross your path. But the truth is, you were not designed to live as a reactor. You were designed to live as a creator, one who directs thought, channels energy, and shapes reality through deliberate intention. Reaction is easy, requires no effort, no awareness, no discipline. A person cuts you off in traffic, and you explode in rage. Someone doubts your idea and you shrink back in insecurity. You face a setback and you fall into self-pity. These reactions feel automatic, but they are not destiny. They are habits. Habits built over years of letting the external world dictate the internal one. When you live like this, your environment owns you. You become like a leaf blown around by the wind, tossed from one state to another, never grounded, never stable, never in control. But when you shift from reaction to creation, you become like the tree that stands firm regardless of how hard the wind blows. You decide the shape of your thoughts, the tone of your emotions, the direction of your actions, no matter what is happening around you. Creation begins in the mind. Before anything can exist in your external world, it must first be formed as an idea, a vision, a conscious decision. Every invention, every business, every piece of art, every breakthrough began as a creation in someone's mind long before it appeared in the physical world. This is the same with your life. If you want to rise, you must first design it internally. You must hold an image of the person you intend to become and begin aligning your actions with that image. This requires awareness because the moment you catch yourself reacting, you can pause and ask, am I living by design or am I living by default? That question is the doorway to creation. When you live as a creator, challenges no longer control you. They become raw material for building something new. A problem is no longer an enemy. It is a canvas on which you paint your response. Failure is no longer an ending. It is information you use to adjust your strategy. Insults no longer pierce you. They reveal the insecurity of the person throwing them, not your worth. Every situation becomes fuel for growth because you are no longer waiting for the world to hand you the perfect circumstances. You are deciding to create progress regardless of circumstance. That is the difference between reaction and creation. Reaction says, I feel this way because of what happened to me. Creation says, this happened, but I choose what I will feel and how I will act. Most people underestimate how powerful this shift is. They think creation is about grand gestures, about starting companies or writing books or building empires. But it starts in the small decisions. Waking up and choosing gratitude instead of complaint is creation. Choosing discipline over laziness is creation. Choosing to focus on a vision instead of a distraction is creation. These small choices accumulate, and over time, they compound into massive transformation. Meanwhile, people stuck in reaction allow those same small decisions to control them in the opposite direction. They hit snooze because they don't feel like getting up. They argue because someone pushed their buttons. They quit because it got uncomfortable. Each reaction seems small, but together they form a life of wasted potential. To shift into creation requires responsibility, and responsibility is what most people try to avoid. It is easier to blame circumstances, to point at others, to say, I am this way because of what happened. But responsibility means you accept full ownership of your state of mind, your direction, your future. Responsibility is not a burden, it is liberation. Because the moment you accept it, you no longer need the world to change in order for you to change. You no longer need perfect conditions to move forward. You no longer wait for permission, approval, or support. You create regardless. And in doing so, you reclaim the power that reaction stole from you. Living in creation also reshapes the way you see time. When you live in reaction, you are constantly stuck in the past or anxious about the future. You replay old mistakes or you worry about what might go wrong. But when you live in creation, you ground yourself in the present because creation can only happen now. You cannot create yesterday and you cannot create tomorrow. You can only create in this moment through thought, choice, and action. When you live in that awareness, life becomes sharper, clearer, more intentional. You are no longer drifting, you are directing. Creation is not about controlling everything that happens. You will never have control over every event, every person, every circumstance. But you do have absolute control over how you interpret those events, how you let them affect you, and what meaning you give them. That is where true power lies. Two people can face the exact same setback. One reacts with despair and quits. The other creates meaning and grows stronger. The difference is not in the circumstance. The difference is in the choice.